Hey everybody, welcome to 2020-2021 school year. I'm making a quick getting to know me video, and this will be kind of a template for you to answer some questions that I have for you. And I'm choosing to put in my image in this video for those who have never met me before. Most of you have, but some of you haven't. And you'll see me with a mask on in school, and here you go, this is me without a mask. Now, I used to have a big beard, shaved most of it off just for masks, but many of you knew me with a big beard. It'll come back eventually. But here we go. So I'm going to answer some of the questions that I am going to ask you, and one of the first assignments that I want you to do is getting to know you. Some of you have done this before, most of you have not, but I want you to do it even if you have done it before, because I'm going to put this in my digital file. Alright, so one of the first questions I ask is, what is your full name? My full name is Nathan Donald Weber. My friends call me Nate. Most of my relatives call me Nate. You guys can call me Mr. Weber, or you guys usually just call me Weber, which is fine. I don't really have any preferences. If you want to call me Nate, that's fine. Just don't call me Donald. It's my grandpa's name. But anyway, so if you want to share with me your full name, or just what you want to be called, it doesn't matter. Alright, so I also ask how many sisters and brothers you have. I have 2 brothers and 1 sister. My big brothers are Jason and Brett, and my little sister is Brianna. I ask you in the next question, what is your favorite music? And pick a couple. Most people just don't have one favorite type of music. Throw a couple in there. I grew up in the 90s. That's when I was in high school, so I'm a big sucker for 90s grunge and alternative. But I also grew up listening to my dad's Led Zeppelin and Rolling Stones albums, so I'm kind of a classic rock fan. I also like current mainstream folk music. Trampled by Turtles from Duluth is a big one for me. I try and sample new music whenever I can. My kids are good helpers in that. I try and listen to their music at least once or twice. I think the only one that I haven't liked of my kids' music is Five Finger Death Punch. I'm not sure what that's about, but whatever. Alright, so your next question was, what do you like to do in your free time? I didn't answer that on here. I figured I'd tell you in the video, because I have so many interests and so many things that I like to do. One thing I like to do is definitely garden. I do have a big vegetable garden. My wife has a big flower garden. I am an artist. I like pottery. I blow glass when I get a chance. I haven't been able to do that lately. I like to work on cars. I used to have a Jeep that I worked on all the time. And I like working on my house and doing projects in my yard. I have a lot of things that I enjoy doing to pass the time. Next one is favorite meal. That one I did write down, because my favorite meal has been for a long time steak and mushrooms. It has to be really good steak, though. I do like steak. If I'm going to make it, I'm going up to Byerly's and getting a dry-aged porterhouse. And if you can hear that in the background, that's my dog drinking water. So, steak and mushrooms is my favorite. Alright, so my next question is my favorite teacher and my favorite class. My favorite class when I was in high school 300 years ago was metals. I took metals for a couple years with Joe Angelo. And I also like world history and geometry. Those were some of my favorite classes, and a lot had to do with the teacher I had. Alright. Which brings me to my favorite teacher. My favorite teacher was Mr. Poliad. Now, I think I spelled his name wrong. I think there's 2 T's. But I had Mr. Poliad in his first year teaching in ISD 728. He taught at Vandenberg, and I believe he just retired last year. He was an excellent teacher. I loved him. He was one of the reasons I went into teaching. Next question was, if you have a choice, would you come into high school? High school, as you know, is by law, you need to attend school up until you are 17, I believe. And I'm asking you, if that wasn't a law, would you come into high school? When I was in high school, I probably would not have attended if I had a choice. I was not a very good student. I didn't enjoy my high school years at all. I had a few teachers who made it bearable, but I'm not a big fan of high school when I was in it, unfortunately. But I decided to become a teacher, hopefully with the idea that I would help a few students along in their high school, even if they didn't like it. I know some of you don't like to be there, but we try and make it as enjoyable as we can. I was not in any sports. That was the next question. I didn't do very many extracurricular activities. I wish I would have. That was one of my regrets from high school, is if I would have been in some more extracurricular activities, I probably would have enjoyed it more. All right, next questions. One major challenge in your day. This is kind of a personal question. I understand if it's a difficult one to answer. Some of us, almost all of us, have roadblocks. All of us have hurdles that we go through every day that make our day a little bit harder. My biggest hurdle in high school, and still is I deal with ADHD every day, pretty severely. I did end up getting diagnosed. I took a test, and I scored like 9 out of 10 on the ADHD scale. So I deal with it pretty bad. It made high school extremely difficult, and it was a painful thing to deal with. Still is a painful thing to deal with, but I get through it with some of my coping mechanisms, my coping skills that I've learned over the years. And I use my strengths, and this is one of my two of my strengths. I'm very empathetic, and most people with ADHD are overly empathetic. And I'm a very hard worker. I've learned how to be a hard worker, and I think part of that is because when I was in high school, I was told that I was just lazy. ADHD wasn't a thing that was diagnosable in the 80s and 90s. So I was just told over and over again that you're just lazy, you need to work hard. And I think because of that, I overdid it. I tend to be a very hard worker. Oh, all right. Another one that I ask about you in school is, would you rather do group work or individual work? Now, this next year, it's going to be very hard to do any group work. But if you had the choice, would you do group work or individual work? And my answer was, I must not have put it on here. I'm sorry. My answer is I like individual work. I do like individual work. And I think I skipped a slide. I'll just answer these as we go. I do like individual work. I'm not a big fan of group work. Some of that is because I get a little what's the word? I don't do very well in group situations because my self-esteem, and I'm just talking high school, not anymore. I like doing group work now, but when I was in high school, my self-esteem wasn't very good, and I'd rather do stuff on my own. All right, next question. What languages do you speak at home? And I speak English at home. And I ask this question because we do have a lot of students coming in who are English language as a second language, and at home their parents tend to speak another language. And I've had that several times throughout my teaching career, and it's always nice to know if a student is going home and speaking another language, because that is a hard thing to deal with. And most of the students who do have to deal with that, or get to deal with that, because it can be a good thing at times, tend to both have extra things on their plate, responsibilities, but they also benefit from these situations as well. So I asked that, and then of course I'm an English speaker at home. My family migrated over from Germany and other parts of Europe in the mid 1800s. My go-to person, and that's my next question, is my mom. Mom is my go-to person. She always has been, always will be, I'm sure. And anytime I have a problem with anything I'm dealing with, I talk to usually mom, especially if it's teacher related, because she was a teacher for a long, long time. All right. One more thing you need to know about me is I do love my job. I've had multiple jobs in my life. I've been a carpenter. I've been a remodeler. And this is definitely my calling. I do love teaching. I do love being with my students as much as possible. This last few months have been hard because I haven't had time with my students as much as I'd like. All right, last question is, oh, there they are. I got them mixed up. Okay, are you a Vikings fan? Yes, I am a big Vikings fan. Skol Vikes. I watch them religiously. I have been ever since I was 8 years old. Used to watch it with my dad and my grandpa. Love the Vikings. Go Vikes. We'll see how they do this year. Alright, so that is it for this. You can use this as a template to fill out your own Get to Know You, and I implore you to put as much detail as you feel like you can. It helps me get to know you a little bit better. Even students I've had before, I've learned things on these that I didn't know about them. So let me know and fill out your form.